Alright, I haven't made a video in a while, but I was planning on uploading one and it didn't go too well. You can see from the stickers, took the, I don't even know what you would call it, budget drift car, practice car, whatever. Took it drifting and had a bunch of issues. I'll insert some clips here. Clutch fan. But basically, handbrake didn't really work. Clutch fan exploded. So that took out a few things with it. What else? Kept going into limp mode because of the wheel speed sensors. Forgot to code that out, but I ended up fixing it at the track with a quick rewire. And yeah, just a bunch of things, little things that just wasn't going right. So fixed most of them, but if you can see from that title, I have another thing I want to do to this today. So I went to Rona and grabbed a couple things. Paint thinner, or no, sorry, mineral spirits is what you want to use for this. And fire red trim clad. So if you're in the US, this is probably Rust-Oleum. Trim clad is, I think, like a Canadian version. We also have Rust-Oleum, but not sure if you get this in the States. And it's not entirely sprayable. They don't recommend it, so I'm gonna thin it down with mineral spirits and give it a quick spray. Getting close to going back on track with this. Engine's in, everything is kind of back together. Gotta make intercooler piping. But for this car, I did a single stage and a little bit more prep and bodywork. But this is just gonna be that straight up like rust, trim clad, Rust-Oleum, whatever paint. Just shoot it. So what I need to do is just scuff everything to a 400 grit and pretty much just wipe it and spray it. I am going to take a few things out, like the tail lights, you know, emblems, trim. I'm not going to paint. I have a M3 trim coming for the side, so I can get rid of this. But that also means I need to make a few cuts here and one on the front because the M trim is much thicker. Of course, since the clutch fan blew up, I'm ditching that and putting this E-fan I had laying around, caliper, copper or whatever bushings for the dual caliper, because what happened at the track is because this is like an aftermarket or whatever caliper, the caliper pin guides are so bad that the whole caliper was just flexing back and forth. That's why I wasn't locking the wheels, and that's why the handbrake was so squishy in there. Gonna take this bumper off and test on this first because I'm not entirely sure how well this will spray. So we're gonna rip that off and try it out on this before we move on to the rest of the car. Looks like this emblem's already broken, but I'll try to reuse it. Don't really feel like buying new ones. 1 for 2. At least this one didn't break. Okay, so everything that needs to come off is off. So no trim. The mirrors are getting replaced. I have M3 mirrors, taillights. Still gotta pop this rear bumper trim off. And yeah, so probably gonna spray with the over fenders on. I don't really care too much about this car, and it's just a cheap paint job to make it one color. So I'm just gonna leave it on and spray over it. Luckily this thing has a horrible paint job already, and the clear coat is gone on the majority of the car. So all I have to do is give it a quick sand with 400, make sure it's smooth, and spray. For things like the sunroof with a little bit of clear left, it'll take a little bit more time, but it looks pretty toast anyways. So since the clear coat is gone on the majority of the car, this is going to be a lot quicker of a job. Probably take half the time. Gonna be using, I think I mentioned this, but 400 grit, just a one-time pass. Got the car up on jack stands. Wheels are off. Obviously don't want to get paint on my expensive wheels. Start sanding. Not even gonna wash it. Using some, I don't know, Amazon, whatever, sanding pads. 400 grit and a orbital sander. So things like this, when sanded, the paint will stick to. If I sand it and it's still shiny like this with a glossy clear coat, it's not gonna stick. Should probably primer these, but I'm just gonna shoot over it and see if it flakes off or not. If it does, I'll just pop the rivets off and primer and paint it again. Probably paint these too. Not 100% sure yet, but I'm gonna sand anyways because it's pretty rough. So all that's left to do now is start sanding. Bumper's over there. I'll bring it over and sand that as well, and probably shoot that first off the car just to test the gun. Yeah. Completely sanded. I'm just gonna have to wipe it down, tape off the windows and everything that I don't want covered in paint. So this is mixed 4-to-1, so 4 parts trim clad, 1 part mineral spirits, and I did 3 coats on this just to see how it would turn out, and not bad. So it's pretty glossy, pretty shiny. The bumper is a bit mangled. I could have done some more prep, and the lip is kind of bootleg, but it's pretty good for like a cheap paint job. I know it's not gonna last forever, and this stuff fades in the sun pretty good, but Still gotta mess with the gun a bit. It was shooting too low of pressure than too high of pressure. My gauge is all messed up and can't really read it. So I'll get back to this and start shooting the rest of the car. Use this to wipe it down. It's like a wax and grease remover. Just give it a quick wipe, mask it off, and then I can finally start painting. Alright, so this is from earlier when I did the bumper. I think it's dried a little bit, so I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to mix a new one because I have a bunch of these paint cups. So basically I'm doing the 4-to-1 mixture, so 5 on the first one, and then the second one up to the 5 as well with some mineral spirits. That seems to be working, so I'm going to stick with it. If something changes, I will add more or take some out. So yeah, I'm gonna set it on a time lapse and start shooting. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, looks like the mask doesn't really cover my whole nose, but looks like the time lapse died or someone called me. I'm not sure what happened, but first coat is done, looking pretty good. I ran out of paint fairly quickly. I think that pressure is a little too high, so I had to stop halfway through and mix another cup. So to prevent that, I've got one there ready, and oh, down there 2 more. So I got a bunch of paint mix ready to go. Shouldn't have a problem for the second coat. I am almost out of paint, so I'm not sure if I can do 3 coats, but for sure I'll get the 2 down. Got another 10 or so, 15-ish minutes until the second coat. But yeah, so far so good. For 1 coat, that is very good. Pretty excited. Gonna just wait it out, get the time lapse set up again, and start the second coat. Got 2 coats done now. Fortunately, I was resting my thumb on the spray adjustment. Shoe a little too narrow, so I ended up getting, I don't know if you can see, a couple runs here and there. But, you know, other than that, it's okay. The red usually hides it pretty good until you get up close. Even down here, I think I got some runs somewhere. Again, I think it's red because you can't really tell. Yeah, so it looks like I'll have enough paint, just enough for 3 coats. Gonna go and do that 3rd coat. was still covered in paint, but yeah, that's it for this one. $100 paint job, red trim clad, minimal sanding, just a one shot of 400 and clean and paint. This is what it gets you. Obviously it's not a good paint job for a daily or something. This stuff will not last at all if you're dailying your car, or if you're parking it in the sun. This car just stays in here. So yeah, if you want to paint your car for $100 and make your track car or drift car one color, then this is not a bad way to go. My other car I did single stage for maybe like 500, which I would recommend if you want longer lasting paint, but this is good enough for me. Yeah, hopefully I'll have a video of the event, which is in early September, and I'll post that. That's it for this one.